Hey, so got a question for you. After Saturday, who'd you rather be? Would you rather be USC or UCLA in football? We're going to break down both the spring game for the Trojans and the spring showcase for the Bruins. Good morning, I'm James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is a terrific Sunday morning. My wife is cooking breakfast, and I'm here to tell you, I don't summon the breakfast summons me. So I am going to enjoy the scents that are wafting over across from the kitchen. It's a beautiful thing. If you like the content we've been putting out for the last month and a half, 2 months, feel free to clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. We try to come up with a new video between 9 and 10 every single day. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. For I am not God. I do not know everything. Before we get to the main topic of USC and UCLA football, let's go through the scoreboard and some of the notes. The Dodgers, they lost last night. It took the Padres 10 innings to do it, 3-2. The Kings, they have inched ever so close to getting back to the Stanley Cup playoffs. They defeat the Ducks last night, 4-2. Very touching moment after the game, by the way. Longtime Ducks player Ryan Getzlaf, he's retiring at the end of the year. Everybody congratulated him at Crypto.com Arena. That was a nice touch. Kings are on a 4-game win streak. Here's basically the playoff picture. They have a 7-point lead on the Vegas Golden Knights. The Knights have 4 games left. Basically, for lack of a better term, the Knights have to win out, gain 8 points, and then hope the Kings lose the next couple of games. So yeah, the Kings are literally this close. The Galaxy knocked out Nashville last night, 1-0. The Galaxy are unbeaten in 4 consecutive games, and I got to tell you, if you didn't see the game last night, you really should Google Dejan Joveljic's celebration. We should all be that happy. It was tremendous. It's way better than a Lambeau Leap. You got to check it out. It's heartwarming. By the way, the Galaxy, 5 clean sheets. So their defense, which was extremely bad last year, they're at least figuring it out. 5 clean sheets is nothing to shake a stick at. Today, the Dodgers and Padres wrap up their series at 1 o'clock, and LAFC will be at Cincinnati at 2 p.m. Now for the notes, UCLA basketball. Tyger Campbell, point guard, he's coming back, according to his mom. Dude, you're a really good player. I'm sure your mom's a really nice lady. But your mom? Text somebody. I mean, put it up on Instagram like everybody else. We don't need to be calling your house to figure out what you're doing with your future, okay? This isn't 1983 anymore. Twitter, TikTok, not your mom. I'm a social media guy who's trying to get followers. If you want to add a bunch of followers without putting a lot of effort into it, that's how you let people know you're coming back. Not a random ring to moms. By the way, Yahoo Sports, they did a ranking of all the quarterbacks in the NFL. They put Justin Herbert, number 6, of the Chargers, and then, of course, the Rams, Matthew Stafford, number 12. I wouldn't put any stock into it because all they did was just put a list out with some photos. They didn't even try to justify it. So why bother? Let's talk college football. I'm going to break down each thing for you as best as I can. You're by all means welcome to comment about what you agree or disagree with, because I get it. I believe I know a lot about football, but look, how much can you really figure out from practices and spring games? We'll start off at the Coliseum. Now, I think we got a lot of what we expected out of USC, and so did the 33,000 people who showed up. I mean, if you're talking about excitement, and you went 4-8 last year, getting 33,000 people in that place is a pretty good step up. Okay? Now, Incoming quarterback, he was a transfer from Oklahoma, Caleb Williams. Very solid. He completed 9 consecutive passes. He was 10 to 12 overall. Threw a couple of touchdowns. They went to Mario Williams, who also transferred from Oklahoma. That suggests he might be the top target in the red zone. They do have that familiarity. That's a positive. I also think the running offense is positive. Not necessarily because they gained tons and tons of yards, but if you noticed, if you watched the game, did you notice how often the guards and the tackles were pulling from one end of the offensive side to the other, to the point of attack? Yeah, we were talking about that in earlier clips. You can go watch it and validate it. Look, this is how you get mismatches when you try to run the ball in the so-called air raid offense, which is hilarious because before Lincoln Riley came in, the last couple of clueless lunks ran the air raid offense. Former offensive coordinator Graham Harrell didn't understand how to generate a rushing attack out of the air raid offense. And you can be damn sure that Clay Helton had no idea how to generate rushing out of the air raid offense. Then you go watch Lincoln Riley come in. He changes the blocking scheme and voila. And that's important because if you're a Trojans fan, you like running the ball. Tailback tech, student body right. And you're not going to get student body right out of the air raid, but at least you're going to be moving the chains. Going over to defense, Romello Hyde had a couple of hits, but the defenseman who really showed up most on film, a gentleman whose name I completely mispronounce every single time, Tui Pelodu. And it will never sound natural coming out of my mouth, but he was the guy who made the most impact on defense. Now here's my problem though. There is a disparity, and it shows up in the final score. Not that you should care what the final score is. In this game, they spotted the defense 21 points, and if you stopped the offense, you would get some more points and whatever. So you spot the defense 21 points, and then USC's offense scores the first 24 points of the game before the stop. Okay, that's a problem. That is a problem. Because that means you allowed 4 consecutive scoring drives, 3 touchdowns and a field goal. You couldn't get them off the field. So, mixed bag. You should be happy. You should be excited. You kind of expected the offense to be better than the defense. But I will say this as a closing note. If you see running back Travis Dye on campus, please let him know how much we are all in awe of that mustache. Holy crap. That was the most macho face broom I've seen in years. Tom Selleck's jaw dropped. It was so incredible of a mustache. My wife, she saw it on TV. She called it a porn stash. That's not a porn stash. That was if one porn mustache mounted another porn stash and started procreating with the porn stash to produce another porn stash. That's how amazing that facial hair was. If you see Travis Dye, give that man, and how can you miss him with that porn stash? Give him a round of applause. Big man on campus? Hell no, but the biggest facial hair you'll ever see. Let's move to UCLA. I'm going to be upfront with you. I've been doing my best to keep up with UCLA football. But getting information on UCLA football is kind of like, and I've said this before, information on UCLA football is kind of like going to your MySpace page to see how your friends are doing. There's nothing there, right? So I didn't watch the spring showcase for 2 reasons. I want to be upfront with you guys about that. I didn't watch it for 2 reasons. One, it was on the Pac-12 network, which meant that I had to pay extra to watch. And 2, the only reason this so-called showcase was held, according to Coach Chip Kelly, was because the Pac-12 told him to. He didn't want to do it. The network wanted content. Even quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson called it a, quote, just a televised practice. So if UCLA isn't going to take this seriously, why should I? Right? So, and the fans knew. The fans knew UCLA wasn't going to take this too seriously. So you had 33,000 people at the Coliseum. Only 1,500 people show up to a track field, a field in the middle of a track stadium. So I scour the internet and I watch some clips, and this is my understanding, and it's pretty much what we've come to know from UCLA during this spring practice. Thompson Robinson, okay, he had some poor practices recently, but he was really sharp yesterday in front of people, which I think is good. Apparently there is some smoke to the fire that former defensive tackle Tyler Manoa will start as a tackle on the offensive line. The Bruins haven't committed to it yet, but apparently it might come to pass. Now, having said that, he was an offensive tackle yesterday. He's converted from the defense. Both offensive tackles. Now, we knew UCLA had returners at both center and the two guards, but both offensive tackles were exposed repeatedly by defensive ends Gabriel and Grayson Murphy. Now, you want to see those two do well because they're twin brothers. They were transferred in from North Texas, and you want to see something on defense, but you don't want to see them just pounding your offensive tackles like there's no tomorrow. Meanwhile, there's a wide receiver, Jake Bobo. He was also a transfer from Duke. He's apparently going to be your top wide receiver. And all the other reports and all the other clips that I saw, they're just bandying names about. The only one that's consistently named a top offensive threat as a wide receiver is Jake Bobo. So there's something for you to hang your hat down. So we have this data. We're trying to herd all of these stray cats together to try to come up with an idea of what do we know. How do we break this down? Because we also know that the transfer portal is still open until May 1st. And USC is going to be super aggressive, and who knows what UCLA has on defense. And that's when I stopped and I asked myself that question. Can either USC or UCLA trust its defense? What do you think? Because if I were to compare both teams based on what I've read, based on what I saw on TV, based on what I've seen on YouTube or other video outlets, USC has the edge at quarterback. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's a good college quarterback, but Caleb Robinson is a game changer. He is electrifying, so USC has the edge. But I would say at this moment, a slight edge to running back is UCLA, because Zach Charbonnet had a 1,000-yard season last year. He knows the playbook. He knows his teammates. This is not something that was completely restructured just because you had to replace both offensive tackles. So UCLA might have the edge in running. Check back in a few months. Offensive line, though, the advantage is USC because the experience, as I mentioned a moment ago. UCLA, they're about 60% of an offensive line because you can't trust the tackles. Wide receivers, I'll take USC because Williams to Williams immediately clicks. But tight end is UCLA. You see where I'm going here? And by the way, if you think about it, you can't be sold on either team's defense. UCLA lost a lot of guys, but those two defensive ends, yeah, they were great yesterday, but they went after weak offensive tackles. And then if you go to the other side, if you go back to USC, USC is literally learning how to tackle people all over again, right? If you think about it, Clay Helton didn't want tackling in practice to keep the little darlings fresh for the game, and then the game comes around and they keep blowing tackles. It showed up a lot on game day. So UCLA, they beat the daylights out of USC in last year's rivalry game. I'm here to tell you that's not happening this year in terms of a beatdown like that for UCLA. But we don't have enough data to decide yet who the clear front runner is. I think it's USC. I think it's SC. But that defense for both sides. Now you tell me what you think, because it could go either way right now. I think the edge is SC, but I could be talked out of it. Now, if you enjoyed today's content, by all means, like, subscribe, and yes, that notifications bell. Thanks for watching. I'm James. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corta El Queso production. Take care.